And I'm going to hit go here. Right. Stand by. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sonic Talk number 275, recording live today, Wednesday, the 18th of July, 2012. We are post Summer NAMM, which we didn't really mention a great deal last week, but we were just a couple of days before the show, so there wasn't actually anything we could talk about legitimately. But this week it's slightly different. We have quite a number of things, or at least a couple of things, one of which is particularly interesting. I'm finding particularly interesting anyway. And I'm going to start by welcoming a new guest. We've got a kind of a Sonic Talk virgin here in terms of Rick Nakvi from Presonus. Presonus, of course, have been doing some great work with their online streaming stuff. You'll be able to see Rick in a number of videos where they talk about Studio One, which is their current new DAW, and lots of other developments, including the Studio Live Desk. Yeah, they're on fire, frankly, and their Summer NAMM coverage was awesome. They were streaming a lot of it live, much to the envy of me, who makes me think, actually, that's what I want to do, and then I can just go home at the end of the day and not do any editing. Anyway, Rick, how are you? It's great to have you aboard.
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome. We seem to have lost. We just seem to have lost Gaz there, so I'm just going to change the shot up again. Well, Rick, one of the I'll come back to you and we'll talk about the developments, because there's been some exciting developments over at Presonus, and that's one of the reasons that we're having you on. And we'll also have Mr. Richard Hilton, Hiltonius.com. Where Rich is currently in Ireland, I believe, where he is awaiting a gig with Chic. Chic's the travelling disco band is on the road at the moment. So how are you?
Pretty good, thank you.
Excellent. Have you had some sort of travel nightmare, or are you okay?
I'm fine. Yes to both questions. But I'm fine.
We just lost Gaz, so I'm just trying to type that in. That's why I'm looking a bit distracted. But
yeah, go ahead, go get him.
I'll go get him.
I miss him already.
Right, let's go. Just get Gaz. I hope it's not going to be one of those terrible Skype days. Sometimes you just have them. I'm guessing, Rick, you probably know about this. Being a live broadcaster, you have to. Do you use Skype as an incoming source sometimes?
We will from time to time, when we have guests, and it's a crapshoot, it's the internet. So
yeah, that is certainly one way of putting it. That's for sure. It's it's the one thing that nobody seems to have solved. A kind of just pay a bit and have a kind of secure working stream between you and the people that you want to have, and it's very variable. Unfortunately, the internet weather does change things a number of times, so we'll just have to bear with it. But anyway, I have Gaz back now. There's Gaz Williams over there in Bristol. Gaz Williams, songsurgeon.co.uk. He's a producer, bass player, songwriter, engineer, all of those things. How are you?
Yeah, was it just me who got kicked? Or
yeah, it was. You just kind of seemed to drop off. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but welcome back, Gaz. Can you hear me, or have you lost your audio?
Thank you.
Sorry. Hello.
Yes. So,
can you hear me?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh yeah. Oh, grand. Okay.
I think we have some sort of multi-second delay.
Music takes kind of week since the last.
I'm not sure that's happening. Maybe we can hang up and get you again. Brilliant. Hold on one second. This is one of those wonderful Skype days. Then this is this is how what you'll have to look forward to, though, Rick. If you're going to do multiplayer calls, I'll just go and get Gaz again. We usually have decent bandwidth here, so. I'm wondering what's causing this one. Right, we'll try Gaz one more time. Rich, you're sounding very Riverdance again there, in there.
Sorry, Nick. I forget. I don't have my mute button chops together yet.
Right, we'll just try and get Gaz one more time. Sorry about you live listeners, folks. Obviously, it'll all turn out right in the edit, but for you live listeners, it's perhaps not quite so such a thrilling real-time experience while we work through these little gremlins.
I believe Frank Zappa had a piece called Little Gremlins.
Did he?
I'm pretty sure he did.
You is gone. I think Gaz may be rebooting by the looks of things. So, Rick.
Yes.
Let's come to you first, because Gaz can let us know when he's ready, and that'll all be fine. So, Rick, very interesting times at Presonus. I mean, there's you guys are just kind of on fire. I mean, can you just tell me a little bit what you announced at Summer NAMM, and how was it?
Sure, absolutely. Well, we recently just acquired a company called Nimbit. And Nimbit has been around for about 10 years, and they are an online web platform that have a technology that allows musicians, particularly independent musicians, the ability to upload their music and sell their music and share their music and promote their music online. And why we found them particularly interesting is they've got some really cool technology, and we wanted to have the ability for our Studio One users to be able to have a direct pipe into Nimbit. So, already we were the first DAW back, with our version 1 of Studio One to integrate SoundCloud into the DAW. And, we had the first ability to be able to directly within the DAW shoot stuff up to SoundCloud. And so this is sort of like the next step of that. In addition to being able to, put your stuff up on SoundCloud from within Studio One, now you have the ability to upload your music directly to Nimbit. And Nimbit is, you could kind of think of it as, a storefront that you put on your website. You can put the Nimbit storefront on your Facebook page, and allowing you to sell digital downloads as well as even physical merchandise. And of course, the digital part of things, with being able to upload and have your stuff for sale very quickly, that was really kind of interesting to us. So what we showed at NAMM was, we had a young artist, acoustic guitar player, songwriter in the booth, and he would come in, and he was plugged into one of our Studio Live boards, and we recorded him playing a song, and then do a quick edit in Studio One and shoot it up to Nimbit, and literally it's on sale for people to buy within 5-10 minutes. So pretty cool.
So effectively, the kind of content. Well, so what happens with it within the Nimbit kind of process? So it's a plugin that integrates your chosen content. So you master, mix it down, and then that file becomes available to do stuff with Nimbit, right?
Right. So what the way that it works is, once you're done with whatever you want to do in Studio One, you you go to the Export Audio tab, just like that's where you would go to burn a CD or burn an MP3. But now there's a new option where directly from this dialog box that you can actually upload directly to Nimbit. And once you've created an account with Nimbit, it basically accesses your account and now allows you to put it up on your Nimbit store. And the cool thing is once it's up there, it's instantaneous. I mean, you set a price and it's for sale. Nimbit, like I said, has been around for about 10 years. They were actually one of the first online music distribution kind of sites. The cool thing is now we're the first DAW to actually have this ability directly within the DAW. So, you don't have to do your song and then close it down and then log into your Nimbit account and, upload it then I mean, this is directly, you know.
Well, and also, I mean, I guess it's just a simple sort of the integration is. I mean, I'm not often finding myself. I just need to program these beats and then sell them instantly. But the integration part of it is way cool.
Yeah.
I mean, is there a cost to an account? I mean, how does Nimbit make its money, or how does that aspect of it make it?
There's two types of accounts. There's a Nimbit free account, and then there's what's called a Nimbit Plus. The Nimbit free account, it doesn't cost you anything to create an account and to put music online. Nimbit takes 15% from every download, so that's how they make their money. The Nimbit free account allows you to be able to, of course, put your music up there and also do one type of promotion. And this is where it's really cool. You know, the one thing that Nimbit gets that I think that is valuable is that, you know, the average musician out there, they're creative people, they know how to make great music, but they're typically, the average musician, you know, is not a marketing guy. So what Nimbit has tried to do is create just pre-programmed promotions that allow a musician to very, very easily go in and promote a song. Now, you can promote, like, let's say you put up a new, you know, collection of songs and you just want to, you know, promote this. You can promote it on Twitter. You can promote it on Facebook. So what you're seeing here right now, this is the artist that actually played in our booth. This is from his Facebook store. So his name is Jordy Searcy. And, you know, from the front page of his store, there's a little, you know, Nimbit store icon. And once you click that, this is where it takes you. So you can see here, he's got his new EP, which has 4 songs. He's got a t-shirt up there for sale as well. And then you'll see a third collection of songs that we actually recorded at NAMM in our booth. And so all of those were created directly from the Presonus booth at Summer NAMM. And, you know, another thing you'll notice is that there's some tracks that are for, you know, that are for sale at a fixed price, like 99 cents or $1.29. And then there's a free track on there. So you can put free.
I'll click on there.
So when you click on the free download, one thing that's kind of cool is you see there's a little contribution bar. So now you can leave a tip for the band, and you can donate.
$100. What do you think? I'm sure he's worth it, but perhaps more likely to be $1 in my case because I'm cheap. But
now, right below the contribution place is a place for your fans to leave their email information. This is probably the biggest difference between iTunes and Nimbit. You know, you have to have iTunes. You have to put your music on iTunes. There's no doubt. But, you know, Apple keeps all of your demographic data of your people that download your stuff. So if you sell 1,000 songs on iTunes, you have no idea where those customers are. You have no way to get in touch with them. You just sold, you know, them music, and Apple took their percentage. Now,
30%, I might add.
Yeah, which is quite a bit more than Nimbit takes. But from within Facebook, you know, Nimbit has you know, a Facebook application. You can set up a store even if you don't have it on your website. You can put a Nimbit store on your Facebook fan page, and anytime somebody downloads a free track or downloads a paid track, you get to collect their information. And this is really cool because, like, let's say, you know, all of a sudden you see, oh wow, I got, you know, 50 downloads from a particular city that you've never played in. Well, now you have those customers' email addresses, so the next time you book a gig there, you send an email blast. And the other thing that you can do that's really cool is when somebody downloads your stuff, send them an email and thank them. You know, this is the new era for music distribution. And, you know, the way that independent artists, that the advantage that they have today is that, you know, with tools like Nimbit, not only, you know, do you have the ability to put your music up there, but now you have a way to form a relationship with your fans and keep in touch with them.
And they've got sort of lots of clever promotion triggers and things, so you can maybe give someone a free download. If they don't tip you or whatever, then they then you can follow up kind of, 2-3 days later, say, hey, do you like that? If you do, I'll give you a further discount specifically on this collection of songs, that kind of thing, right?
That's right. And that's kind of what Nimbit is really passionate about, is trying to take all of the mundane part of doing promotions out of it for the musician. So basically, the musician just answers a couple of quick questions, and Nimbit does the rest. Nimbit pushes out, through the Facebook app, allows you to post a promotion on Facebook, or you can, copy and paste a promotion directly into an email blast, or you can do a promotion on Twitter. So it accesses all of these things, and then, we're working to implement more tools like this that'll allow automatic follow-up to happen and stuff like that. So it's really neat how kind of where this thing is going to go. Now, the other thing that we're working on really, because obviously one of our big products right now is the Studio Live mixers, which are used in live performance. And so, like here's an example of what I'm talking about. Let's say I'm playing a gig at a club called the Varsity, for example, which is a local club here in Baton Rouge. Yeah. So what I can do is, from directly within Studio One, or Capture, which is our other, instant recording application that comes with the Studio Live mixer, I can be recording the show while it's going on. And then let's say we get to the last couple of songs of the night, and I say to the audience, hey guys, thank you so much for coming out to the Varsity tonight. If you go to my Facebook page and click on my store and put in the word Varsity in the coupon section, I'm going to give you a free track from tonight's show. So,
that's really powerful. Or radio performances or anything like that, right?
That's right. So if I'm on the radio, I could put in a coupon code and say, okay, we're on, WZGX. And so if you use WZGX as the coupon code, you're going to get a free track. So that way you can do these promotions regularly. And that's the key, just having your music online doesn't guarantee that you're going to sell one thing. If you're not regularly promoting it. And so that's where Nimbit kind of comes in, is to give artists, ideas and really easy, quick promotions that they can keep in touch with people and keep their music out there.
That sounds great. I know, Rich Hilton, you were at the beginning of the show, you kind of were were unclear about how this kind of, whether this was a good thing or not. Does that kind of make it clearer to you? This sounds really quite powerful now, as it's described there.
Yes, it makes it much clearer, and it makes it much more understandable to me, and it all makes sense to me now. I do have a question, though, and it's really a sales question, because I've been listening very carefully to what you're saying, and it really sounds fantastic. So the best known sort of quick online distribution method I know of, as a sort of a semi-novice at this, is SoundCloud, which you guys had previously implemented into Studio One. And I thought that was a pretty clever thing to be able to give your users. So now you have SoundCloud users who are also involved in the use of Studio One. What do you say to them to tell them how Nimbit is going to be more beneficial to them? Is it mostly wrapped up in this purchasing interface kind of situation that you've just described?
Well, that's a great question, Rich. First of all, we still have SoundCloud, and I don't think that Nimbit necessarily is a replacement for it. I think it's almost more of an augmentation. The thing that SoundCloud is really great for is, it's just sharing music non-commercially. So that's the main application. So if I do a song idea, I can throw it up on SoundCloud, and people can comment on certain parts of the song. So they can say, oh, I love the chorus, and it'll actually say right there. So that doesn't go away, and our SoundCloud integration for Studio One, actually in version 2, just got a lot better, because now we have the ability, we're the only DAW that has the ability not only to upload to SoundCloud, but directly from Studio One's browser, you can pull stuff from SoundCloud back into Studio One. So that's something that we just added. So SoundCloud is not going away. But what I would say to the SoundCloud guys is, when you're ready to try to make revenue from whatever you've created. Nimbit is a really great platform for that because number one, it's super quick. People were coming to the booth telling me that when they put their stuff up on iTunes, it takes 2 weeks sometimes for them to actually, from the time that they put it up there to the time that.
I'm just curious. I mean, you're talking about the dropship stuff. Is that US only at the moment, or is that worldwide? How's that work?
It is worldwide. We right now are working actually on a different. Right now we're using a warehouse in the Boston area, so that's where Nimbit is located, and we're actually looking at possibly increasing that capability to where we'll have multiple warehouses around the world that'll handle the physical inventory. So stay tuned for that, but it is worldwide right now. It's obviously quicker to get stuff shipped.
Sure. So in the US, yeah.
Coming from Boston, so there's a little bit of a lag time, but that's our plan is to have warehouses all over. Because here's the interesting thing: there's still a lot of people that just want they want a physical CD, which is kind of crazy. I mean, I haven't bought a CD in so long, But the other thing is that artists a lot of time, from what we've heard, sell a lot more physical stuff the night of the performance. People want to work out with the CD, and so the digital stuff is naturally a lot better as a online type of a thing. But still, shirts and hats. I mean, people still like to buy merchandise.
Do you kind of have merchandising kind of ranges and like that you get? I can't remember the name of those things where you can kind of drop a logo onto a picture of a shirt. Do you handle or help with making of that stuff, or is that all down to the artist?
It's down to the artist, but we are working with some strategic partnerships. So and that may be something where in the future we may be able to have a kind of like a total turnkey solution where you just
I'm sensing a revolution here. It feels like I don't know. What do you think, Gaz? Is it kind of this starting to make some wheels turn in my in my addled brain and thinking, well, actually, for acts that are perhaps just find the whole thing really daunting. I mean, like you say, a turnkey solution could really kind of rock, couldn't it? Are you there, Gaz?
I am. I'm listening. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. The the physical merchandising aspect of it, especially. So what that turnkey solution would be, for instance, you just sort of send the company. Well, you just upload your kind of JPEGs of your artwork, and then they'll print up the CDs and print up the T-shirts to order, will they? Is that the plan, or? Well,
it could be. I mean, this is brand new for us. So I know that there are companies now. I think there's one called something Cafe, Digital Cafe, or
something. No, I think I remember what you mean.
You know what I'm talking about. But there's a company that does a similar thing. Well, they'll have a range of items like coffee mugs, T-shirts, and you literally just upload a JPEG and now all of a sudden you've got 5 different things that you can sell. So we may wind up doing sort of a partnership. I mean, at the end of the day, why this is interesting to Presonus is Cafe Press. That's what it is, right?
Thanks, Failed Muso, in the chat room.
Exactly. What why this is interesting to Presonus is that if our customers who are musicians are not making money, then after a while, what you have is and it doesn't just benefit Presonus, it benefits the entire industry. I mean, we want our customers. What I found with our customers is that they're typically. I mean, we have some really high level pro guys that are using stuff. We have some super low end, entry level hobbyists, but largely it's the middle group of people that is sort of the Presonus customer, which is the independent artists out there that are doing it by themselves. So it works perfectly with sort of who the big chunk of our customers are.
So I know Suzanne Vega's putting up her latest stuff. It's quite interesting with Suzanne because she's re-recorded a lot of her stuff to just because she owns the songs, and rather than wrangle with the record company, she's just re-record all of her songs. Really clever, kind of. She does one volume of love songs, a volume of places, and a volume of feelings. In fact, there's places there. In fact, if I maybe so, there's one place here. If I play that,
I am sitting in the morning at the diner on the corner. I am waiting.
Stop that. That's incidentally, Rick, that's one I did, actually. That's my remix, but that wasn't me playing on it. But nonetheless, I mean, she's obviously finding this kind of stuff working really well. I mean, she's on iTunes as well. So you got the larger artists working. Are you finding that there are people migrating over from other places, or is it just yet another thing? Because, I mean, this is one of the problems, isn't it? When you have something like this, is it in addition to what you already are upkeeping, or do you kind of find people are moving straight over to it exclusively?
You know what? I would... I think it's a combination, because there's a lot of people that are already on iTunes, and the thing that Nimbit gives you that I think is really clever is the Facebook tools are really powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, so many people now, as musicians especially, Facebook is more visited than their websites even, and so. Just within, I mean, like for example, if I have 2,500 fans on Facebook, and let's say I'm working in Studio One, for example, and this is like a Imogen Heap kind of trick because she's the master of this, engaging your fans through the creative process. So let's say I'm doing a song in Studio One, and I lay down a scratch vocal with just like a rough kind of an idea. Well, directly from Studio One, I just upload it to Nimbit, call it a free track, share it with everybody on my Facebook, all my Facebook fans, and say, hey, I'm just working on this tune. What do you guys think? Download it.
It's sort of, in some way, it's a really neat idea, but in some ways it's going to introduce that horrible notion of design by committee, which we all try and shy away for. But she's turned it into a brilliant actual promotional tool rather than anything else. Yeah.
And the thing that got me interested about her early on, I mean, I had heard like a couple of her tunes a few years back, but when she came out with the Ellipse album, I read a Yahoo article that she sold like some ungodly amount of downloads and physical CDs the first day that it came out, because she had this, the fans had seen the whole creative process. They'd been with her along, through the recording and all of the stuff. So the first day that it comes out, she sells something crazy like 70,000 copies, and this was on an independent artist. So this is the kind of thing that started making me realize that the industry is changing. I mean, these people are taking it into their own hands. Artists are taking their own destiny into their own hands. And so having tools like this, of being able to get your music out there and being able to connect with your fans, and that's the thing. When you put up a free track, just the fact that Nimbit collects every email address.
Yeah, well, it's better than you get from anything else. I mean, you get access to that data. I mean, to be honest, I'm surprised that you were the first guy that you managed to get hold of the company, because it just seems totally obvious now, doesn't it, that this is the way to do it, and yet you would expect the labels to be buying it, So I mean, kudos to you for getting hold of it and keeping it inside the creative kind of hub, really.
It's an interesting story how it happened. So the guy that is the VP of marketing for Nimbit used to work for Cakewalk. He was VP of sales and marketing or something like that for Cakewalk. So he came from within our industry, right? His name is Carl Jacobson.
Yep.
And before he was working for Nimbit, I think he may have been at Cakewalk, or he may have just left Cakewalk. He came to the NAMM show that we introduced the SoundCloud integration, and he lived in Boston at the time, and so he was already familiar with obviously Presonus, and he was already familiar with Nimbit, and this is before he was working for Nimbit. So he saw us kind of introducing SoundCloud, and he said, this is great. Now, all of the Studio One people can share their music from directly directly from Studio One, but wouldn't it be cool if they could actually sell it? So he's the guy that drove the whole thing.
Right.
He got a job with Nimbit, and we started to do some kind of
I've
promotion.
got a dim and distant recollection of him getting in touch with me actually and telling me about Nimbit some time back. And yes, now I recall. Yeah, yep.
And now he gave up the harsh winters for the harsh summers, and he lives in Baton Rouge now, and he joined us, and it's neat how it kind of worked out, but it actually works better, coming from this angle, because I mean Nimbit really is it's for musicians, and because we already have a community of users that are musicians that want to be able to do this. It kind of worked perfectly with Presonus was a perfect company to kind of do this.
No, it sounds like on to a winner. I really do wish the best of luck with it, and I think it's something that I'm going to be trying myself, frankly, because I'm just thinking every time I do demos and of gear, I quite often write little ditties and stuff, and I'll just have to finish them now. And then sell them. Maybe I can. Maybe I can. Then maybe I can fund my reviews even more efficiently. Rick, that's been really interesting to hear what's going on with that. And that, I mean, it sounds, just hearing what your plans are and how it already integrates. I can think of 1,000,001 ways that it can go. So you guys must be having to put the brakes on the creative team. Just go, wait, let's just get in line, because I mean, I imagine that everybody's got some strong ideas of how it should work.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, even if you're not a Presonus customer currently, you can still sign up for a free Nimbit account. So you just go to Nimbit.com and you can upload your songs. Nimbit only takes WAV files. That's one thing I should mention. Now when people download it, it'll be an MP3, but Nimbit takes care of converting it. So you upload it as a 16-bit WAV file, and then that way everybody's resolution is the same, so that's why well, and also you can change that resolution if you've still got the original file somewhere. You can re-encode if that's yeah. Okay, brilliant. Well, Rick, I imagine you've probably got a busy day ahead of you, considering that you've just come back from Summer NAMM. So unless you're more than welcome to hang around, but if you need to head away, then that's absolutely fine, and we can move on to some other topics. But appreciate you coming in to join us. Thank you very much, Rick. Sure. Thanks so much for having me.
Gaz has got a question before we go.
Yeah. A couple of questions. So, because I was cut off for a little bit, so you may well have talked about this. So if you have, I'm sorry. Is it like Bandcamp in a way with Nimbit? Is there a URL then, sort of like www.bandname.nimbit? Is it?
Yes. The way that it works, and I'd say it's very similar to Bandcamp in many ways, but that's exactly how it works. So let's say I create a store. With Nimbit, you have the ability to host that store in 3 places. Actually, more than 3, but the 3 main places are your website. So it's just a very simple bit of code that you drop into your website. Now you have the Nimbit store on your website. The second place is on Facebook. And then the third place is on Nimbit.com. So it would be Nimbit.com / so even if you don't have a website, you can host your store from Nimbit. Basically, Nimbit puts it up there for you. And you can send people, if you don't have a Facebook store or a Facebook page, you can actually do it directly. Actually, I'm sorry, it's nimbitmusic.com. And that's where the artists actually put their...
My bad. That was me trying to be helpful, and I just sent them to the wrong page. Nimbitmusic.com. Okay.
Nimbitmusic.com. That's where the individual artist pages will be located. And the cool thing is when you make a change to one store, it goes out to all of your stores. The other thing that we did with the Nimbit Plus account, we added the ability for you to have a store directly from Django as well. And we found, with Django, it's interesting. For those of you that are not familiar with Django, it's a kind of like an internet radio station, similar to a Pandora, where basically you pay to have your music alongside, signed artists. So let's say, like with Jordy's music, he sounds a lot like what's his name, John Mayer, right? So he can put John Mayer as kind of like, I guess, an influence, and then Django, he can pay to have his stuff put on right next to John Mayer, like a John Mayer radio station, basically. So people that like John Mayer will get to listen to his music. Now, the drag though with Django is, you can pick up fans with Django, but that doesn't mean that they're going to buy anything, right? So I have another friend that paid to have his stuff on Django, and he picked up a lot of fans, but he didn't really pick up a lot of sales. Well, now you have the ability, if people are interested from Django, it'll bring up your Nimbit page within Django. So
right.
We have a Django plugin, I guess.
Ah, okay. Neat. I wonder how long they're going to let you do that, though.
And that's the thing with, unfortunately, is all this stuff can kind of change. But,
yeah,
but
of course.
But you'll always have the ability to capture the fans' data, and that's the main thing that you get with Nimbit. That's really cool. So hope I answered that.
Thank you very much. This has been so fascinating. I've actually forgotten to play the ad from our sponsor, which I should probably do. And I don't know whether, Rick, you're going to be able to hang around, or if anyone's got any more questions afterwards. But I shall. We'll come back to that in a second. But I just want to say, if I press my ad button, we have. Yamaha is still our sponsor, but what's happening is where we're looking at the new apps. They've got a huge range of apps that over 20 applications available in the music category alone, taking the world of the app seriously. And you can hear there's actually a music track to this, and I've set up a little duck underneath in my Yamaha digital desk, just out of interest. With over 20 applications available in the music category, there's simple MIDI controls like Synth Drum and Synth ARP app, where it's like an ARP controller. It's also got a 61 voice synth in there, 7 drum kits, 61 sound effects, 16 drum pads, MIDI loop recorder. There's also setlist organizer, which allows you to set up your tunes and send out program changes to all of your stuff. There is Multi-Editor Essential, which quick edit functions of mixer effects and edits MEQ modules for the Motif XF, MOX, S90X, S70XS, Motif XS and Rack XS. And there's also the Voice Editor Essential, which gives you the opportunity to edit voice effects, EQ, cutoff, resonance, those kind of things. Various envelopes with 8 faders and an XY pad for real-time control for performance parameters. Again, compatible with the Motif XF, MOX, S90X, S70X, Motif XS and Rack XS. Gosh, they're hard to say when you say them in a long line like that. But do check out the Yamaha apps. There is a whole series of them, and it really is a world of apps. uk.yamaha.com. Thank you very much. Right, so thanks again. If I come back to you, Rick, I want to say thank you very much for joining us, Rick. That's been a real eye opener, and I again wish you the best of luck with that. And I think I'm going to have to investigate that. We'll have to work on maybe getting some people jamming in here and selling stuff through Sonic, create sub-labels or whatever. I don't know. There's all sorts of reasons. So once again, that's Rick Natfree from Presonus and Nimbit.com. Or would it be best to say Nimbit Music?
I guess either one would work.
Either one will work. Great. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Right. Hold on one second. So, fellas, that's pretty interesting, I would say. I must admit, I wasn't expecting quite such a tight integration of everything there, but yeah, pretty good stuff. Gaz, your video is frozen, but I'm guessing you're still there, right?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I mean, I was so about it, because I thought that Bandcamp, I didn't really, I mean, other than sort of the ease of use if you're a Studio One user, which is obviously quite appealing, I still thought Bandcamp was more or less matched it in most categories. I think it's the marketing side that I kind of got quite thrilled about, the fact that you can collect all of this stuff. I mean, I don't use Bandcamp, so I don't know. I mean, it's in Bandcamp there's a lot of information you can find out about the people who buy it, and there's a lot of statistics and stuff, you know. But I mean, I guess the integration with the DAW is just, I mean, because I was just before the show, I was trying out this new Scarlett 2i2
interface, and I just threw a few ideas down into Ableton just to sort of see what the latency was like. And I thought, oh, that's quite good. And then I just thought, well, if I could just press, finish it. Obviously, that's the tricky part. And then press a button and kind of go, yeah, you can have this 99 cents or, free or whatever. I just really like the idea of that. I mean, obviously, it might lead to an enormous amount of half-finished and what am I trying to say? Stuff that's not ready for prime time. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. That is quite compelling reason for it. I've been using Studio One quite a lot over the past week and have found it to be a very, very good working platform, actually. I do like.
Oh, good, yeah, because you were talking about mastering. Well, maybe when you come over sometime, we can have a look and you can give us a show round and we can get a preview with it. We should probably cover some other topic as well. I know we've kind of given have quite a lot of talk about the Nimbit thing, but there were some other things going on. I think one of the first ones was possibly the new Korg Kronos. I think I've got a little video here, the Kronos X, which I will just quickly play. And I have to say, check out this voiceover.
The award-winning Kronos music workstation has raised the bar for keyboard players around the globe. Its amazing potential and unrivaled sound has ignited the creativity of thousands of musicians, making it the new industry standard against which all other keyboards are measured. How do you make the world's greatest keyboard even better? Simple. Add more of what makes it great. Introducing the new Kronos X music workstation.
I won't play the whole thing because it is blatant marketing. I mean, obviously that was the kind of, hey, check it out. But that's quite interesting, the new Kronos X, which I know I wanted to get one in to have a look at, but the idea of reviewing something with 9 synth engines is kind of pretty terrifying, frankly. And I think it would probably take me the rest of my life to kind of get through and cover it. But I know, Rich, have you checked it out? Have you checked the Kronos out at all? I mean, there are some serious players who really kind of rate it.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I mean, I saw it at a trade show briefly, but I really didn't spend any time with it. It looks like a fantastic instrument, and I hear from people I trust very well that it's fantastic.
Well,
I find this update to be a bit tepid in terms of the actual feature set being offered. I think they've upgraded the flash memory from 64 gig to 128 gig. Well, this laptop in front of me has 512. So that seems kind of, I guess to house samples, that's pretty good. It's more like RAM than it is like disk space, and to that extent, I can sort of see it. I'm sure it's a wonderful instrument.
Well, I think you can get double the SSD and double the RAM, and there's been a lot of questions and asking about, what about upgrade paths? Apparently, you can just take your own. You can buy an SSD and have Korg fit it for you. Buy some RAM and have it Korg fit it for it. They haven't set any prices yet, but it's looking like they're going to make it, fairly reasonable. And there's obviously the OS 2, which is coming along as well. But yeah, I would like to get my hands on it.
Why are they even in the memory sales business? Why are they offering tiers? Why don't you just make the ports accessible to your users and let them load their own?
Well, that's a good point. It does say that it's user serviceable. I think they're selling sound pack. Yeah, as Puckatronic says in the chat room, they're selling sound packs on the SSDs as well, so you get extra sound banks with it. So I think that's partly the strategy. Perhaps, I'm not sure.
Okay.
So that would work. It's interesting though. This kind of like the whole. It seems we getting kind of flagship synthesizer fatigue. I mean, there's an awful lot of. There seem to be
I can think of 3. How many are there?
Well, exactly. I suppose there aren't that many. Yeah, maybe that's true. I
can think of 3. I can think of the Motif.
Yeah.
Whatever Roland's flagship du jour is. I guess it's that Jupiter
80.
God help us. And this thing.
Well, I suppose so. I hadn't really thought about it in those terms. I guess that I sort of tend to think that there are more of them because there are generally lots of different flavours and tiers of them, as you say. I know, Gaz. I mean, have you heard or played with a Kronos anywhere? I mean, I haven't seen them in the field. I must admit.
Yeah, I had to go with one in Paris, and I mean, it all seemed very good, but I just for me, I was just kind of thinking, why do they always make the interfaces so sort of archaic? You know, it feels really weird for such a state-of-the-art thing. There's a touch screen on it, but, you know, the touch screen is, you know, compared to something like an iPad, you know, is way, way, way back in time, you know, and you know, these things are expensive, and they're talking about this upgrade, and yeah, they've doubled the SSD drive to 64 gig from 32 gig, and you know, and what's it, $3,000 or whatever, and it's just kind of always wonder. I mean, I know that's just figures in a way, but with the expensive thing, you kind of expect a bit more. I mean, you know, in terms of it being a great keyboard, it unquestionably is. In terms of its usability and friendliness, I wasn't so sure about it. I was wanting to have a little look around because I know that it's got the MS-20 engine in there and a whole things, and I wanted to just sort of see how nice it was to sort of navigate. And I mean, as we all know, equipment does take a while to sort of get your head around it, to understand its kind of architecture and whatnot. But I still found it all a little bit not really inspiring, and for me it really put me off it. Not that I was particularly in the market for it.
No, I guess not. I think the one thing that I always find about anything with touchscreen, whether it's Jupiter 80s or Korg stuff or Yamaha stuff or whatever, is the technology that they've put into the touchscreens that we're in the current models is just nothing like what you can do with an iPad or an Android device or an HTC. It just doesn't have the same responsiveness. It's not multi-touch generally. It feels that the size of the screen is going to be limited, you know, physically as well. It just feels like that it's a really difficult kind of market to enter, and it's sort of because of the long lead times in manufacture, we're still sort of getting these kind of not so tactile touchscreen interfaces on current keyboards because there's a commitment to buying so many units. Rich, you're looking skeptical at my words.
Well, no, just that Korg has been putting touchscreens in their products for nearly a decade now.
Well, that's true.
I think that it at this level makes a lot more sense in a $1,200 M50 product than it does in a $3,500 Kronos product in terms of how satisfying it is. Like, in other words, getting back to Gaz's original point, yeah, it's expensive. And so for $3,500, you kind of feel like it should at least be as good as your iPad. But at the $1,200 price point where you're buying an M50 with 10 gazillion sounds and some of that technology that was in the Oasis, whatever that stuff was called again, by that guy, Steven.
Yeah.
You know, the auto accompaniment software.
Yeah.
Grown large.
Yes.
Karma,
that's it.
Yes. Yeah, that was in a $1,300 product that made a gillion sounds and had a touchscreen. At that level, it all seems like a huge bargain.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, it's interesting because, I mean, you know, going back to the ad with the Yamaha, when I spoke to the Yamaha guy, he came down and we had a bit of a chat, and he was saying, you know, they're actually focusing more on the sounds and that side of things and making sure that stuff sounds great, and then integrating it with the outside world with the latest, you know, with the touchscreen from that point of view. Because some of their synths have plenty of screen real estate, and you know that's fine, but some of the other ones don't, and this is the way to kind of uniformly access some of that stuff. I mean, even the JP has done it as well. You know, the
to suggest that Korg and Roland aren't primarily concerned with the sound of their instruments.
Well, no, I don't think that, but I think I'm not thinking that at all. I think it's more if you're not having to worry about an OS for a touchscreen, and because I'm guessing those touchscreens are still pretty expensive.
Like I said, it's a $1,200 product.
But then I was thinking, you know, I was in a shop earlier, and there's loads of different other. I presume most of them were Android touchpad things, and you know, like iPad equivalents, and there was lots of them for around £99. You know, with fairly similar sort of size to the iPad. So there must be like generic touch screens then that they could just bring, you know, because I mean,
it would make sense because I mean, a lot of I know I'm pretty sure that there's a Linux core underneath the Kronos. So yeah, I mean, and that which is kind of related to Android, I suppose. So, you know, maybe why not?
Yeah. It's just, I mean, so, you know, I hate to be too negative about something that I've spent 25 minutes on, and you know, I mean, you know, I'm sure it would be just the most wonderful thing. But it's kind of interesting. I always have very high expectations of stuff. I've just had this experience with the Machine this week. You know,
yes. Yes.
machine, where it's unquestionably a really cool piece of kit, really enjoying it, but it doesn't do half the things I want it to do. And I'm just really gobsmacked by the things it doesn't do. When I bought it, I just assumed it was going to do. I didn't look into it maybe as deeply as I should have. It just doesn't do it, or the ways around it are just really not. I don't know, not intuitive, or possibly because maybe it's perhaps a little bit more tightly focused on its marketing at a very particular sort of genre.
I mean, I think that's the case with anything that tries to do everything. It's going to work really well at those things, some of those things for some people and not for others. I mean, it depends. Something that's so integrated and tight and can do as much as something like Machine, or perhaps the Electron Octatrack, or any of those things.
Doesn't do, in the Machine's case, it really doesn't do an awful lot. What it does extremely well, but it isn't this all-encompassing thing. Actually, it's quite in some ways it's quite easy. It's a lot easier than I was expecting, and I have to say I've been having tons of fun on it as well. So I do have to kind of balance that a little bit, and it is a brilliant thing, and I wouldn't want to put people off it. It's just me in terms of
your expectations were exceeded the actualities with it.
Yeah, and I think perhaps what I was hoping for, I only realised this retrospectively, was Ableton Live in a box, and not the APC 20, which represents, or APC 40, which represents an aspect of Ableton Live. I was, I don't know, in terms of like the pads, I thought the pads were going to be able, I thought you were going to be able to sort of make each pad have special kind of functions and stuff, and it really is.
It doesn't do that, right? Okay, yeah. Interesting.
But yeah. So
sorry.
Sorry, just that really. In that it's 2012 now, and we've got so much to draw on about what works and what doesn't work, and I'm just kind of thinking there's still space. I don't think we've expanded. So what you were saying about like kind of getting workstation fatigue. Yeah, I think they still seem to me very much like the stuff that was in the 1990s.
Well, I think that the thing is what they're really geared towards. Perhaps rather than, I mean, it used to be kind of, you can sequence and record, do everything from it. It seems to me now they're more geared towards just being a go-to everything I need to do live. I can play great piano sounds. I can do this amazing splits and layers, and kind of for people, perhaps in churches, perhaps in bands who are gigging musicians, you could just they go on the higher stock. Like with you, Rich, you use a particular piano. It's kind of that level of performer that just they stick their USB stick in it, and it'll just do all of that stuff that they needed to do, and they don't need to kind of carry it around with them. It's this sort of upper tier of performance, I think, that they tend to service. And also people who've got, like churches do have a lot of cash, some of them, so particularly in the US it's probably more of a thing, and they might have that as to be able to encourage people to come in and play in the band at a high level. Those are the sort of areas where they seem to go quite a lot. And you see them in people who are playing TV bands where they have to play a lead line 1 minute, a piano the next, an organ, a string pad, or whatever. I don't know. I mean, you're touring a bunch, Rich. I mean, are you seeing these sort of things on the road, this level of keyboard on the road much?
I have not seen a Kronos on stage yet, but I know one guy who plays one.
Right.
But I haven't seen him play it.
What are you seeing then? What's the kind of stuff that you're seeing? Is it still one generation behind, or is it just kind of?
Yeah, a lot of motif, Nord, occasional Roland, not as much really. Some Korg in terms of Triton and such, but hardly ever do I see at festivals that I've been at the guys using the latest and greatest stuff.
It's kind of like that whole thing about you stick with what works, don't you? I mean, it's like you stay back a few.
Yeah, I don't know what the psychology is, but
yeah. I mean, because the pianos that you tend to use, which have capabilities more far outside just being a piano, right? I mean, you're not playing the kind of current cutting edge one. Are you?
Well, I would be, except it sucks. The NX version of the RD700 is really unworthy to me of its name, and the previous version, the GX, which was only a year old when they decided to ruin it with this new model, is fine. It's actually great, and I've managed to learn to make the SX, which was the previous one from 8 or 10 years ago, work pretty well. But yeah, they do more. Obviously, they do a lot more pianos, and the interesting thing is I don't play any piano parts in the band on them.
Right.
The pianos are played from across the stage, and that guy these days is using Motif, one of the highest-end Motif products. Yeah. And the person who was there before him used to use one of the highest-end Korg products. And if I were over there, I'd be quite happy to play the Rolands or any of the. I have played over there once or twice, and I've played Yamaha, and it was fine for piano. I like it.
But it's interesting. I mean, I think there is, one does tend to find in situations where, it's kind of well, not deal breaker, but it just must work. There is a point at which, I've been working on pre-production for tours and stuff, and I'm surprised at some of the stuff that's used, and they just go, well, it just works, so that's why it gets used.
And going back to your original point about whether or not people are using groundbreaking gear on the road, there are fewer and fewer people these days traveling with their gear. Mm. And so a large part of your decision about what you're going to use is what is most widely available of the things that you like, and how much programming before the fact has to be accommodated in that instrument. In my case, one of my keyboards needs to be able to accommodate the programming I've done beforehand in terms of laying sounds out in different queries across the keyboard for different songs. And the other one I can sort of fly by the seat of my pants on stage, because as long as it covers these various kinds of sounds, I can do it, although I do have preferences for it. We don't travel with gear. If I traveled with gear, maybe I'd want a Kronos. Who knows? I mean, but I don't imagine I can rent one in every market I go to, so I'm not going to spend all the trouble it takes to make it work if I can't get them.
Right. Yeah.
In the hot off the presses department, Ableton has just released a beta of their new 64-bit version of Live.
Whoa, Gaz, you'll be a happy guy.
I was gonna broadcast that.
You heard it here, folks. First, you got pipped.
I did.
Sorry there, Gaz. I didn't realize.
That's quite a big deal, right? So, what's that?
Well, then how's this then? For the moment, it won't support Max for Live or the bridge, or video.
Right.
In its current beta form, and they hope to support those things later on. So, if you're somebody who goes to sleep dreaming of new creative ways to use Max for Live, this might not be for you.
And it's funny because, something I often mention about this kind of how long Ableton is stayed at version 8. And, a lot of people assumed that 64-bit was going to be one of the, version 9 kind of headline thing. But so,
well, maybe it is. What's the beta version, Rich? I mean, is it 8 bit?
Yeah, what is it? 8 point? Oh, I can't remember.
8.4.
8.4.
Huh. I mean, is that just so you can run, larger sample libraries and what have you in it? I mean, is that what you need?
No, you can create. You're no longer limited to 4 gig of memory.
Right. Okay.
So, which I don't even think you could probably use in its fullest state. Anyway, but the point is, it releases the RAM limitations that might otherwise have been bogging down your Ableton life.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure it's to try and pip Bitwig,
Well, funnily enough, I'm actually meeting with Bitwig developers tomorrow morning at a hotel somewhere in Bath. I did try and get them to come on the show today. And last week, but they're being very coy at the moment. But hopefully I'll get some answers to a few questions about that, about all of this. So I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing it working, and I'd love to be able to see it on a Linux laptop or something. That's one thing I'm very keen to check out. Yeah. And also be interested to know if they're going to be taking advantage of these kind of APIs from Melodyne and what have you, just to bring all this stuff into the fold. I mean, that's it. But yeah, I'm going to try and find out. Happy Fun Team asks in the chat room, find out what you can about the Linux version. I fully intend to. I don't know whether I'm going to take a recorder with me, but I don't think they're going to want to do anything on screen or anything. But may as well try.
I love the whole clandestine sound to the whole thing.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, isn't it?
Location in a
secret
hotel
location. Yeah, well, yes, the secret location is going to be all about it. And also, while I've got everybody's attention, we are going to be launching a competition very shortly in the next day or so, hopefully, with Isotope, a Iris competition. They've stumped up a ridiculous amount of prizes in terms of software giveaways for people who want to make something cool out of various podcast clips or any other found sounds. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah. Iris, it's very good.
I'm quite thrilled by that, and hopefully, but what's terrifying is I think SoundCloud are going to get involved, and they're going to send it out in their email shot to 350,000 users. So I may look calm, but underneath the table, I'm rapidly deploying servers and making up strategies to cope with this influx of traffic should it actually arrive. But do stay tuned for that, because hopefully that'll be something that everybody will.
Is it? Are you meant to use that? Oh, sorry.
You are. Well, the bare bones of it, I don't want to say too much more. The bare bones of it, you have to use Iris to create the sound. And there'll be you create a short demo and you upload it to SoundCloud. We've got a Dropbox made that, just will take anything. So you don't have to be a SoundCloud member. What's quite interesting is you can by dropping a sound up there, you just give it your email address and it effectively creates you a SoundCloud account anyway. So that's how the winners will be contacted. There's going to be 5 winners, and there's a few Sonic State t-shirts up for grabs as well. So what more could you ask? Priceless. And I think the winner gets to be get a special guest on the podcast as well, because obviously Sonic Talk was one of the places that this was seeded. Well, it wasn't seeded. It was Dave's initial idea, but it was discussed, and then I think it kind of just reinforced the idea that it should be made into a synth RX technology. Anyway, I think that's probably about it for today. It's been tipping down with rain. We were going to get onto some interesting Erky
good sunshine.
I can't say it. I'll work on the pronunciation for next week. But anyway, thank you very much for everybody for joining us. I want to say thanks to Rick Nakvi from Presonus /Nimbit for coming on and giving us all that information. Very interesting stuff, actually. And I want to say also thank you very much to Rich Hilton right there. Where's your gig? Is your gig tonight, or have you got a couple of days?
It's tomorrow night.
Okay. And
you're in Galway.
You're in Galway. Right. Galway. Okay. There's some great pubs in Galway. I've played there myself once at a jazz funk festival. So maybe it's the same event. I can't remember what time of year it was I went, but I imagine the venue was much more lowly than the one you're likely to be playing at. Who knows? But when are you back home then, Rich?
I'll be going home on Sunday for 3 days, and then it's back to the lovely English mud for a couple of festivals.
Yes. I'm getting a bit worried about this, actually, because I don't know how the hell all of these places, all these ones that have been cancelled due to kind of bad weather and the insurance premiums on running these events for next year is just going to be impossible for most of them. I mean, it's going to really affect the ability for UK to put on outdoor events, I think.
I'm still trying to grapple with how they're going to put on an Olympics in 6 inches of mud with an infrastructure that was built by the Romans and a road system that doesn't feed anything.
We do have pavements and concrete and hard standing in most civilized areas these days, Rich. And as far as I know, the only place where it happens on the maybe muddy ground is likely to be football and archery, possibly. So I think we should be all right.
Track and field in general.
Track and field, yeah. Well, it might be a bit wet.
It's the Summer Olympics.
Well, apparently the jet stream is moving north over the next few days, and it's all going to be well and good. We're going to get our summer, but we'll see. I don't want to be held responsible for that prediction, of course, but I just want to say. Anyway, Gareth Williams, songsurgeon.co.uk, thank you for joining us as well, even though your video is frozen with your lovely bass tree in the rear there.
And I've got a really interesting week ahead. I've got a good gig on Saturday. Anyone in the Bristol area? We're headlining the Harborside Festival in the amphitheatre stage.
Oh, cool.
That'll be good. And then I'm off to Japan next week. Hooray!
Oh,
so,
wow.
That's going to be really interesting. So,
Where are you going?
I'm going to Tokyo first, and then I'm going to head on to the Fuji Rock Festival, and then back to Tokyo for a little bit afterwards.
Fuji Rock, that's supposed to be a really good festival, actually.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, I've got some sort of music tech kind of little mission that I want to sort of try and do when I'm over there. So I shall report back. So probably means that I won't be around next week, but and the week after that. But then I'll come back with my. I'm one of the things I'm really going to do is go and check out. I want to go and check out some music stores over there as well. I just want to see what they've got going on that we don't know about. So that's something kind of
interesting. I don't know what I think it's more likely to be mobile phones, to be honest. But maybe you can find some vintage synthesizers or cheap vintage electronics. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I will speak to you very soon. Thank you very much for joining us. That was a Sonic Talk number 275, and next week we will have more details of the Isotope competition. It was again thanks to Rick Knack of Presonus, and also to our sponsors Yamaha. So thank you very much, everybody, and have a great week. In the meantime, see you later.